Welcome back to Chimera Miniatures' official YouTube channel and podcast. I am, as always, your host, Mr. Sean, and we are going to kick off this second ever episode with part 1 of 20 tips and tricks to being a decent DM. So I've been listening to a lot of RPG horror stories lately, and I just kind of wanted to give my own 2 cents. I haven't had a ton of horror story experience in my years with D&D, which first started when I was in my 20s. I do have a little bit, but not anything like what I've seen on other channels. So I wanted to just kind of weigh in. Instead of talking about horrible things people do in D&D, I wanted to share some of my own experience, that just what would basically be how to be a decent DM. I mean, no means a professional or an expert, but I like to think people have fun in my games, and I know about certain experiences where, as a player, I haven't had fun. Now, I don't know how many of the 20 rules, tips and tricks, so to speak, we will get through in this video, but I know it will probably have to be a multiple-part video, as I am going to explain in some depth each of these rules. But before we get to all that, the reason this channel exists, to plug my miniature customization business. Links are in the description for this video. Chimera Miniatures is, of course, my business where I make all forms of custom miniatures, specifically ones I like to call chimeras. No, not the creature from Greek mythology, though I do have a chimera miniature that I have made. No, I like to take parts from different miniatures, cobble them together into something completely unique. Some of these images will be shown on the screen, but basically also on top of that, I do have a side business that has taken, I have a lot of inventory currently that I'm trying to move of not safe for work HeroClix repaints. You can see them on the screen as well, and I have everything from commons to rares, super rares, even entire team bases made of these figures, all for your adult HeroClix needs. I did recently get a message on eBay from a random eBay patron asking me what is wrong with me, why would I make figures topless, and to that I say, when I was a HeroClix judge back in the day, almost everybody that was enjoying the game of HeroClix was a full-grown adult, and if you want to enjoy those figures topless, which that is your right, and please do so, and I am happy to provide that service. But I also have many more safe for work and standard tabletop options for sale as well. But without further ado, let's get to rule number 1. Tip number 1. Tip number 1 is one I like to refer to as all roads lead to Rome. Now, what this means is that in an RPG, tabletop, role-playing game, any number of directions, they can go anywhere, the players. And rather than them getting off track and never getting to the story because they got sidetracked, they went somewhere you hadn't planned on, assume that in your world, if there's a narrative you want to tell, if there's an overarching plot or thread, that it will affect things, and that no matter where the party goes, eventually the plot will find them in some manner. Let's keep it simple. Let's say your overarching plot is that there is a giant dragon that is ravaging the kingdom, and rather than going on quests or whatever that would lead them to the dragon's lair, the party decides they want to go berry picking. And that's all they do for several sessions because, I don't know, they like berry picking and make-believe. Eventually, that dragon will get to wherever they are picking berries because it has grown bored, or it needs more things to plunder, or eventually they will find the dragon. So even though they'd opted to go berry picking instead of, I don't know, climbing into a giant cave looking for some missing kids and finding a dragon, they will eventually meet the dragon. Maybe there's an evil ruler of a city, and, originally, instead of going and meeting people that want the party to help take him down, the party decides to go do something completely different, well, eventually this evil person's plan will start coming to fruition, and they will be forced to deal with him. But you don't have to railroad people for the plot to find them. And this one is really probably the most important in my opinion, because it speaks to the importance of adaptability. The first time I ever played a tabletop RPG role-playing game, it was a World of Darkness game, specifically Vampire the Masquerade. Our game master was someone who had apparently done this many times before, touted herself to be one of the best storytellers ever, and basically, long story short, we were all told to split up and investigate different bars in New Orleans, and it just so happened our one kind of chaos child, Brujah, Anarch player got the one where all the plot was supposed to happen and ends up burning the place down before any plot has happened there, and the game master struggled the entire time to adapt to that. To the point it was a very unsatisfactory conclusion. It was kind of a setup for a bigger campaign we were going to start that we never bothered to do because it was just watching the game master try to figure out how to recoup. So, even if the bar where the plot's going to happen burns down before it happens, that plot can still get there. You expect things to go wrong, learn how to adapt, because at the end, all the roads lead to Rome. Tip number 2, I'm just going to put this out there, and I know this is probably going to be my most divisive of my tips, is that a nat 20 on a skill check is not a guaranteed success. I know that that's how it is in the rules, that it's not, but a lot of people say, hey, I rolled a nat 20, I should get a reward, and in my opinion, yeah, your reward is that things go as well for you as they possibly can, given your abilities and the situation. I don't even think in the end it was actually a nat 20. It was just a high roll, like a 19. In the first campaign I ever ran, they were dealing with an orc incursion in a city, and after they dealt with that, the halfling rogue, I think he was a rogue who he hit on anything that moved, kept trying to put the moves on the captain of the guard, and I had made it very clear she was not interested, and he kept rolling to persuade, and he's like, no, I got a really good roll, and that doesn't do anything, and I kind of just gave in and was like, well, she gives you the saddest hand job under the table ever, because I didn't know why he was just pushing that fact. But yeah, no, a nat 20 on a skill check does not mean a success. It just means that you have the best chances of success given your character's abilities that you possibly can do, because at the end of the day, there are certain things that just aren't possible. If it is entirely outside the scope of your abilities, I don't care if you make a nat 20 on an athletics check. Your wizard isn't going to be able to jump 100 feet. That's just not something your wizard can do, typically. And I just don't I think it kind of ruins the game if we don't take that into effect. So number 3 and number 4 kind of go hand in hand. Number 3 is you are not writing a novel. If you want a story that is going to go exactly the way you want it, if you are going to decide, hey, this is this player character's motivation, this is what they should feel, this is what they should do, and you're planning on being very heavy-handed in how you force people to fit the narrative you're wanting to create, don't run a D&D campaign, write a damn book.
Your goal. Reach the top of the tower and destroy the necromancer, freeing the realm from his evil magic.
Well, that's just what I love about role-playing games, is being told exactly what to do.
Me too.
So that brings us into number 4, which is you are writing a module. Now, as my settings thus far have been homebrewed, I come up with an idea and it changes as the players play in the world that I've created, I'm not telling you to write out an entire module as if you were writing Storm King's Thunder or Waterdeep Dragon Heist. What I am saying is that in between the sessions, you are going to want to take notes. A lot of notes. You're going to want to have many different options. You're going to want to know what's going on in your world at any given time. Right now, in the campaign I'm running, my players are about to head off to the pirate island of Freeport, and I have so much stuff written that I have written since we last had the session, and they're maybe going to see a portion of it, if any. But I know what's going on in that world. It's as if I am looking at the module of my city of Freeport, so that if they're like, hey, where can we do blank? You're going to want to be able to look at your notes and go, oh, well, there's this place, that place, and the other place. And if they're like, oh, I want to roll this check to see if I know who might be able to get us some information, or if I want to ask around, you're going to want to be able to know, oh, well, you rolled really well, so someone points you to this figure. He's the big guy around town, he has these contacts, and you're going to want to know what's going on, because you don't want to have to sit and think about it for 5 minutes when your players ask a question that you don't have the answer to. You're going to want to have notes, and you're going to want to arrange those notes that when they ask question A, you go to Appendix A, or if they ask about C, you go to Appendix C. You want to be able to think, and you're not going to be able to think of everything. Every so often someone is going to ask some question that you just hadn't thought of, and yeah, you're gonna be like, oh, let me look at this. It happens to everyone. I noticed it happened to Matt Mercer the other day when I was watching Critical Role. It happens to everybody, but you're not gonna want to have to stop every couple of minutes to come up with something. Alright, so I think we're gonna end with number 5 today, which means this will probably be a 4-part series. Number 5 is a very simple rule, and that is that players need to take notes. I just stressed the importance of your own note-taking, but players need to take notes as well. 1, you should not have to remember everything that they did. That is on them as well as you. You know what's going on in the world. They need to remember their own actions, what they've done, what they haven't done. Not only is this a great way to take some of the stress off of you, the DM, but it helps them feel connected to the world, connected, invested, whatever word you want to use. If they're taking notes, it means that they're pointing out the things that happened that are important to them. And that having that thing, that record of everything they deem important and worth taking note of in the world is what's going to draw them in. It's what's going to invest them. It's going to make them go, this is why I'm playing this game. Because if they just want to hack and slash, and yes, dungeon runs are a thing. If you want to do a dungeon delving campaign, if that's what your players want, more power to you. For me, it's all about the story, but the best way to involve people in a story is make sure that they are noting what parts of it are important to them. I'm going to talk about a video game for a quick second. When I was in middle school, Breath of Fire was re-released onto the Game Boy Advance, and I loved it. I loved the story. It was pretty simplistic, but I was having a great time with it. Well, problem is, I got busy at school, and I didn't play it for a while. And I got back into the game, and there was no way to tell where I was in the plot, what I was supposed to be doing. The internet at the time was not a great place to figure that out, and I kind of just went, oh, okay, and never went back to it. And I'm sad about that, because I really should have. I was enjoying it, but I didn't have that note of where I was in the story, about what was going on, and it helped me to lose my investment in it. And I never finished Breath of Fire. And so yeah, note-taking, knowing what's going on, what's happened, what you need to do next, it's important in day-to-day life, it's important in D&D, and the players need to be doing it too. And that's where we're going to end. The notes, the tips and tricks, we've gotten 1 through 5 out of a total of 20. And I want to thank you so much for listening. And if you enjoy this, again, this site is not monetized. There is no Patreon. There is my Etsy and my eBay. And if you like what you hear here, maybe go buy a mini. Help me keep doing what I'm doing, and I will see you next time. Thank you so much.